so often we know internally, we really do know what is the best for us. We know
Absolutely.
what's that thing that keeps pulling us, no matter how much you try and outrun it, it keeps finding you. It's like, you can't outrun me, I'm here, you know? But, Darryl, something I want to get into is, once people have that knowing, right,
Mhm.
it does not mean the path is easy just because It doesn't mean that the path is easy once you start taking the first step. So when you started really listening to that inner guidance, what kept you motivated to stay on the path and not deviate and not say,
Mhm.
my life before was a little bit easier because I
Mhm.
actually knew what it was?
I love that question. That's a beautiful question. Perspective always kept me persevering. Okay. Perspective kept me persevering. I think when I struggled to persevere, when it felt like it was too hard, it wasn't worth it. I was trying to do all the things that people said I could do, but wasn't experiencing the results that I thought I could have. I started to get frustrated and wanted to quit because of a perspective that I was viewing my pain through. Okay. One of those is kind of what you mentioned, is that, man, this is harder than what I used to do and what worked for me in the past. When the perspective I needed was that this is actually easier. Now, this is, I know, oh God, this is going to get people. Okay. Let me say it this way. It was harder at first, but it was easier at last. Okay. Any change, if I wanted to lose weight, if I wanted to get in shape right now, it would be harder at first, but easier at last. Okay. And when I say easier, I'm not just talking about the struggle gets easier. I'm talking about easier than being overweight. Being in shape is so much more easier once you're in shape than being overweight. Right? Because think about how much you have to avoid your body's speaking to you, and think about how much you have to shove into your mouth just to gain all of that weight. But to maintain it is a lot easier. So, really, what makes it hard is the fact that I wasn't doing what I should have been doing all along. So, why would I go back to doing it? The perspective changed how I viewed the pain, which helped me to persevere in a way that was healthy versus white knuckle, grip it, win at all costs, which is what I learned at sports. And I did very well. It's why I was ranked number 79 in the nation. I already did that. I already knew how to put the pain down and persevere through. And when I brought that in business, I was burning out. I was not around my family as much as I should be. I was not holding myself accountable to values because I was making deals, underselling, back end selling, over promising, over delivering on what I over promised, stressed out, instead of realizing that momentum looks different when you're in it. Okay. I'm gonna give you this example. I'm gonna shut up. Okay. Imagine this visual of you pushing a boulder up the hill. That is the paradigm of persevere no matter the cost. Okay. No matter the cost, persevere. Okay. You're pushing the boulder up the hill. Are you progressing? Yes. Is it hard? Heck yes. Now imagine this. Imagine pushing a boulder down the hill. And now you have to keep up with the momentum that life is doing for you. It's still hard work. You still got to run. You're still out of breath. But now it's like you're in momentum. It's easier to run downhill than it is to push the boulder uphill. That's how I start my days now. I don't go, oh, this stuff I got to do, a boulder uphill. Oh my gosh, I don't want to do it. I got emails to respond to, clients to serve, places to be. No. I'm not pushing the boulder uphill. I'm like, today is a good day. I've got clients to serve, people to see. I got desks to assemble. Oh my gosh, the boulder's going downhill. Life is bringing me abundance, and I'm not going to spit on life and tell it that it's painful. I'm going to be grateful for life and say, thank you for doing the work for me. I just got to keep up.
That is such a great analogy. And when you speak about the momentum, another thing you mentioned earlier in the conversation was, what I heard as flow, like being in flow with life, being in attunement with where you are supposed to be heading, what you're supposed to be doing. What does flow feel like to you?
Yes. Imagine the imagery of a water. I love your questions. It's such good questions. Imagine the visual of a stream of water flowing. This really helped me, and my mentor taught me this. One of the ways to identify you're in flow is to imagine yourself floating down this river. Okay, downstream. Will you hit a rock? Yeah, and when you hit a rock, what happens? You flow around it. Okay. The difference between flowing and forcing is how you feel while you do it. Okay. So when you're floating down the river and you're floating around obstacles, it feels quite effortless, doesn't it? You might go through rapid, what do you call it? Rapids and ups and downs and tides and waves, but you're still working with stream. When you're forcing it, you're pushing against stream. Okay? You're trying to avoid what's happening. The argument comes up, you're trying to avoid it. You made a failure, you're trying to avoid it. You're forcing. You're trying to force a result that you want, that you care about, that you don't have to force, you can just flow into. Oh, I like that. Doesn't that feel good? Don't you want to flow into stuff instead of forcing stuff in 2022 and beyond? Don't you want life to happen for you versus you being angry and resentful for life? Don't you want to feel like you live in a world of more than enough and not a world of just enough or not enough at all? Follow your feelings and flow. That's how I identify it. So anytime I feel like I'm like not flowing like a nice river, I'm like, I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing. I need to slow down, take a deep breath, and come back to the present moment. In fact, it happened multiple times, if anyone can see the video of this, throughout this episode, because I felt myself talking too much because I'm trying to force transformation for our listeners. And I'm like, what do you have to say?
No, it's incredible because I think, flow in many ways, can be translated in the mind that especially when you used to struggle, like you said in the beginning of the episode, where if you are used to resistance at every turn of your road, and to get to where you are currently, you've had to struggle and you've had to fight. And I think that's so many people's journey. When people hear things like flow and, think actually being on in water and allowing the journey to take you, they think to themselves, Darryl, I will flow off a street. I will flow my way into a crocodile's mouth, so what is that balance between action and doing and creating and, chasing your dreams or your dream partner, whatever it is, and actually also knowing that you are in balance or out of balance? What is that magic formula, I would say?
Stop trying to balance and start aiming to trust. Think of imagery is so powerful, because think about balancing. Think about how challenging that is. It's very challenging. And in fact, I've tried some balancing exercises before. I'm not always the best at them. I might be better now that I've learned meditation. But anyways, when I'm balancing, one of the things that happens is you start to slip to the left or right. Okay. When you start to slip in either direction and you feel like you're going to lose your balance, you lose trust, don't you? Trust that you'll keep your balance. And so what do? You try to take the reins and force balance. You try to lean to the right side, then you lean too much to the right, and then you try to lean to the left because you lean too much to the right, and now you lean too much to the left, and the next thing you know, you fall. Okay. When in reality, you could have slipped off a little to the left and trusted yourself that you would remain balanced, took another step forward, and you would have recentered from a centered place. When people are trying to balance life and business or balance this or that, it's because they're not trusting themselves to keep their promises. I'll get a little vulnerable. Yesterday was Valentine's Day. I had so many things planned. I was gonna get my wife. Oh my gosh! Write her this poetic letter. I got this cookie cutter And she loves pancakes, and my daughters love pancakes. So I was gonna make heart-shaped pancakes. Already got them balloons and flowers. So I'm like ahead of the game. Monday was gonna be amazing. Monday came, so did obstacles, so did business. And I had a choice. Was I going to say, no, today for my family, I'm going to balance. I'm going to do this. Or do I say, I trust myself to deliver. I trust myself to love. I'm just going to communicate what's happening instead of trying to pretend that what's happening is not happening. So I said, hey, sweetie, I wanted to do some amazing things and surprise you. And I don't want to tell you what those things are because I still want them to be a surprise. I'm sorry if you were expecting something different, but know that I love you and get excited because something's still coming. Okay. So I wrote the poem last night. Oh, it's amazing. I can't wait for her to read it. I made the pancakes this morning. Can't help from read it. If someone would have took a snapshot of my Monday, it would have looked like I was out of balance. Darryl, you care about work more than you care about kids, more than you care about family. But I trusted myself. And now we see that I don't. I don't try to balance stuff. I trust myself to be who I say I am and to do what I say I'm going to do.